Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where it's about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Walker. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So immediately picking up with, Walker surprising his parents, I was like, is he surprised? And the way he's acting and kind of stammering a little bit, I'm like, oh, he's performing to the camera, right? So it was what I thought it was. I wasn't sure because of his reaction. It should have been clearer to me, but it wasn't. I still wasn't sure if he really noticed it, but it's like, right, he noticed, and he's like, right, I gotta play this up. So he got his entire family. I was like, oh, let's have a breakfast at the sidestep. And the moment they do, he spills the beans to everyone. It's like, right, so there's surveillance. I found a surveillance camera. Because at first they're like, oh, it's like for a scavenger there. He's like, no, it's a surveillance camera someone else put there. If there's one, there's most likely others. So Liam immediately thinks it's the Davidsons, but obviously Walker's like, no, it's Serrano. It would make a lot more sense. But it's like, no, we didn't find any footage or any tech, anything that would suggest that he was keeping an eye on us. The sad thing is they're both right to an extent. Once again, none of the Davidsons, not even Denise, knows about what Dan found, but that Daniel was a part of all of this. But I still feel like there's no way he did anything without his mother-in-law's approval. Granted, he could have gone rogue, and just once again, why he's so adamant about doing all this for this family, I don't know. Especially now that he thinks he has the smoking gun of Walker admitting that he's the reason why the fire, yada yada yada. But then I'm also like, is there something more that he was looking for? Maybe he had his suspicions and thought there was something between Denise and Walker, and that's why he kept watching, or at the very least wanted more of a smoking gun. But that definitely complicates things even more. So Walker ends up bringing this to Mickey, James, as well as Denise about there being cameras. So it's like, right, let's use this to our advantage. They use the Bodhi Gambit, and it's like, oh, the Bodhi Gambit. James and Walker are happy about it. Mickey's like, okay, what the hell is the Bodhi Gambit? And it's like, yeah, not the same one that they use, but basically it's meant to lure someone out. So him and Denise play it up, and obviously I love that Mickey's poking fun at Walker, yeah, because you could tell he's not natural when he's acting like he's on. Which is that's a layer of weird acting when you actually think about it. When an actor has to act bad, because it's I'm my inflections, and I got to seem like I'm all awkward. I love that. I love when actors have to do that. That's so weird. You have to intentionally, so you have to act like you're acting bad. So it's double layer inception of acting. But it's I love that Mickey's oh, he's terrible at it. Not going to win any Oscars, but Denise, she's pretty good at this. But they got to make it seem right, they have a drive that will have evidence against Serrano and stuff like that. But also they're playing it up oh, we're having an affair. They're making it seem oh, there's something there, which Serrano's dude is biting at the bit for this, because he's cool, this way she gets tossed off the case, because it's right, you had a conflict of interest, and there's a whole it poisons the well with the evidence and stuff like that. But even Daniel's yes, someone else is going to pick up that evidence and use it against you. But I think for him it's while they're away, Serrano's dude's when they're away, I'm gonna go in there, sneak into Walker Ranch, and grab the evidence, and we're all golden, we're good. But also the sad thing is, buddy, you're finding out that your wife is screwing. Not only is she having an affair, she's having an affair with Cordell Walker, so that sticks the knife in a little deeper. So what I thought was an interesting thing, and it's kind of a point of contention between Mickey and Walker, is that she was wondering whether or not Walker was focused, because the awkward thing is that Jerry had to walk in during this whole thing, and you can tell. I think Denise felt a little bad about it, because you saw her on the other side of the wall. I was damn, I think she could tell what was going on there. It's oh yeah, it's oh, can we do it some other time? And she's and Jerry's no, I want to get something off my shoulders. I probably should say something, but now I don't know if you're feeling it. But then Denise, and Walker's no, it's not what you think it. And Denise is no, we're just in the moment. And she's oh, no, it's okay. And Jerry's I'm sorry for interrupting. It's the fact is that Walker doesn't want that to, he doesn't want Jerry to think that way. Because, once again, they haven't had that conversation. She's definitely, last episode kind of peaked at, oh, no, it's still there, how she feels about Walker, but it's still that awkward thing of, right, there is something there between us, but we haven't really talked about it since in the time skip between, a little bit of time in between season 1 and season 2. But also, it's just, once again, you were married to, one of my best friends, so I'm is it enough time? Is it weird? Is it like, there's a lot to their situation if they ever like officially got together to be complicated. Because also like, well, because once again, you also don't know how Stella and August would react, how the rest of the so that there's a complication there, and it's just like, and I think even I think it was Mickey, or maybe it was either Mickey or it was Walker that was like, it's not, texting her being like, it's not what you think it was. I think it was Mickey that was texting that, like trying to ease in because she saw how things were. Like she knows how Walker feels about Jerry, and maybe knows how it's vice versa, but it's like, yeah, it's not what you think it was. I was just like, oh, that's so awkward. That sucks, dude. Because like, once again, I want Jerry and Walker to get together. Like it seems, I don't know, it seems nice, They both need something nice in their lives, losing the people they love, like him losing Emily. And, well, they both lost Emily and Hoyt. Those were people that they both loved dearly, so I want them to have a little, like, I think, I mean, they're already tight-knit anyway, like, but, like, being there for each other in that way. But obviously the Denise angle does complicate things, because, but that was what I was bringing up before, where Mickey was like, I hope you're not distracted, like, things need to be, like, all on time. He's like, I get it, like, this must bring up open wounds for you. It's like, because, everything with Garrison, seeing me connecting with someone I know from my past. She's like, Walker, really? I'm just making sure nothing gets screwed up here. Like, she's almost like, I can't believe you even think something like that. That's stupid. It's like, it fueled a lot of her decisions this episode, but it was kind of why she was saying that Garrison was at the very least at the core of it, because she did, like, she's like, we need to be on top of everything. There can be no slip-ups. There can't be any falters here, because if we slip up and mess up, this is how stuff like Garrison happens. And it's like, I don't want it to happen again. But Liam comes here and he kind of screws the pooch a little bit, because it's like, right, they start thinking like whoever might be having surveillance might be relatively close enough to the house. But Liam suggesting that it might be the Davidsons. And so Liam was suggesting like, oh yeah, like we should check your house out. But he's the one that kind of made Walker think like, oh, we should check out her place first, because she might be there to get rid of evidence. So he followed her back home. Like, he showed up way quicker than he was supposed to. He was supposed to show up later on, not to arouse suspicion. Well, once again, the sad thing is, the rest, at least Denise, I'd assume obviously her son too, but I don't know about her mom. Her mom and Daniel, we know Daniel's part of it, but I don't know if if her mom is a part of this as well. But she's, the sad thing is Liam is so adherent to like believing the worst in the Davidsons, because it's like, why did Walker out of anyone keeps defending the family, which bothers Liam so much, because like, why do you keep trusting them? Why do you keep trusting Denise over and over again? Like, it's almost like she can do no wrong in your eyes, because it also plays a role in not only just old feelings resurfacing, but also guilt, because Walker, and I don't think Liam's been privy to this conversation, because we don't even know if he's talked to his dad about it. We know he had that moment with Abby last episode, but who knows if he had that moment with his dad or not. But he definitely hasn't had it with Liam, of like, he blames himself for the fire. So once again, Walker's overcompensating because of his own guilt, because he believes like, right, I'm the reason why like this bad blood. I mean, there was other contributing factors, but me in particular, he feels like I'm at fault. My family's at fault. He wants to try and make things up to Denise, because he does care about her despite everything. Like, she probably was like his first love or something like that. So that's, your first love is always going to have a special place in your heart, unless things went super south and you're like, that person is dead to me. I mean, they'll always have a special place in your heart, like whether, even in that case, it's like, oh, it's just pure hatred, but also just a life lesson of like, oh, never let that happen again. So, it depends on like how you, whether you look at it from an optimistic or pessimistic point of view, I guess. It's sad that, things kind of play out the way they do, and just, it complicates and muddies the water a lot, because in many different regards, for one, Denise ended up, Serrano's guy forced Daniel to call, and then he's like, yeah, Walker's place was bugged and everything. And it's like, wait, it's like, now he figured, like, oh my god, like, she's like, yeah, I was helping him out, and you're like, Daniel's like, shit, that whole thing was playing to the camera because they know about the surveillance, and he tried to play dumb because it's like, right, the last thing he needed was Serrano's guy to know. So Serrano's guy's like, hey, I'm gonna go get the surveillance footage, and Daniel made sure to get all the drives and stuff before he burned the place down, which, seeing that smoke, for one, seeing someone head to the property, but even Liam being like, oh, who is that? Oh, not Daniel, like you were potentially expecting it to be. But Nikki rushed off because she wanted to make sure, like, it's like, no, I've got to get on top of things. I got to handle this. And the ATV she's riding, like, she flips and, like, gets caught up in the barbed wire of that, the post, the fencing. And so she gets hurt. Liam went on ahead on his own, and Serrano's guy almost killed him if it wasn't for Daniel. But Daniel's doing that because of two things. It's self-preservation, but also it's like, damn, like, I don't want someone to die because, you know. But it's like, why I say self-preservation, because let's not forget, if Serrano's guy went down, he's like, I'll sell Serrano up the creek, and I'll also offer you something. Your boy Daniel, he was actually part of this. He bought the surveillance off of me. So it's like, yeah. Like, because it would have also, like, because probably also doing that would have screwed the pooch for, it definitely would have, because it might have actually worked in his favor to be like, no, it wasn't even Serrano's stuff. This is, Daniel, he bought it. Like, here's some transcripts to show, like, oh, like, like, our messaging back and forth about him buying this stuff from me. The reason why I'm saying that is because, like, it would also screw Denise over, because Denise would get removed from the case. So if Serrano's guy did get arrested, he could still use this as a linchpin to kind of torpedo the Serrano case. So it could still potentially work out in the end. So it's not like he had 100% altruistic reasons for doing what he was doing. He was also covering his own ass in the situation. So, but obviously for Walker, he almost got there a little too late. But if it wasn't for Daniel, it's like, my brother, like, he already had to see his brother get shot last time. It's like, as that kind of becomes a theme throughout this episode, it's like, man, this ranch is cursed. Just like one bad thing after another's happening here. But Daniel comes off looking like the hero. He's just like, yeah, I saw the fire. I came to check on it. And maybe this is just me thinking too much about it. Like, it is like, you're allowed concealed carry in Texas, so he could just be holding it for protection. But I'm like, that kind of about to say, like, shouldn't it be suspicious that, like, yeah, he thinks it's a fire, but why are you rolling up at the Walker home with a gun? Like, that's what I'm like. There's got to be some suspicion there. That at least, but once again, like, not trying to say, like, oh, it's Texas, but I'm saying because I know Texas is, I believe in, either it's like concealing carry or open carry. I think it might be even open carry. Like, I'm not a gun dude, so I don't really know, like, the gun laws of every state. So that's why I'm like, I don't know, like, whether that be suspicious or not. The fact is, he claimed he was there to check out the fire, but he rolled up with a gun. Also didn't, like, you didn't call anybody, like, oh yeah, there's a fire here, like Liam's right to doubt him because he is neck deep in this, not initially, but he was on the wrong side of things this time. So Liam's feeling a little bad about that, but once again, the sad thing is he is right, but that leads to a disagreement between him and Walker again, because Walker's blaming him. He's like, right, if you hadn't gotten in my head and made me doubt them, like, it's like Denise and Dan, yeah, they've made mistakes, but, you know, we all, like, we're at, like, because once again, he's coming at it from the perspective of, like, we screwed over that family. Like, I did what I did. Like Liam's so young, but he also feels like Walker's shouldering something he shouldn't have to. It's like this family, because also he's coming from the perspective of, like, yeah, Denise swooped in and stole his job, and it's just like all the crap from that family, like everything that Denise's mom said at the chili thing last episode. Then on top of just like everything with Daniel, it's like he started shit, like, the first time, like, they're in town. So, like, of course, like, both Denise and Daniel are going to rub him the wrong way. What makes it even more complicated, what's even sadder is, like, Denise and Daniel were supposed to be going to marriage counseling this episode, and it's like, right, he thought he saw his, he's too busy keeping an eye on Walker, plus he thought, like, oh, Walker and my wife are having an affair, and it's like, it was all for naught. Granted, he still has to drive, so the thing is, he can't present that to anyone. He might, once again, I don't know. I think his mother-in-law might take advantage of, like, whatever's on those. But the fact is, he took them. It's like he knew he could use that as, like, a way to stick it to the Walkers. And I think that's going to come back full force. But I think Denise won't be as receptive of everything. I don't know. Because his mother-in-law will be happy about it because it's like, right, getting them to pay for, like, all that it'll be a way to stick it to the Walkers for all that we lost. But also, it's a way, not unless it leads to a situation like Walker, like Cordell getting arrested later on. There's some stuff later on, too, like Bond and Abby were talking about potentially, like, right, finding a new home because like there's just so much death and just terrible stuff that happened on that ranch, and it continues that maybe we shouldn't even stay here. And it's like, but it's like, right, this has been in our family for generations. And there's also like, what about the boys? It's like, well, Liam and Cordell have never really like struck a chord with like wanting the ranch or anything like that. So it's been in their family, so giving it up, it's just like giving up a part of like what their family. It's like, but Abby's like, we should at the very least consider like maybe not being so bound to a place that's got a lot of terrible memories and just terrible stuff keeps happening. I mean, hell, even Stella's thinking about the fact that it's just like, it's like, right, she's got to take her like practice SAT on top of that, learning like, cool, my family's being surveillance. It's just like, once again, terrible stuff happening on the ranch. She's the one that even used the word cursed. So she's trying to do her best on the SAT, but even at one point she sees a question that's like, oh, what did the cameras catch? You leaving this voicemail for Trevor, you crying over a picture of your mom. It was like another thing, and then like all of the above. Like she wasn't focused on it, and obviously like Trey's able to connect with her. It's like, I get it. It's a lot. He's like, I know what it's like being bound to confidentiality. Remember, I'm like dating a ranger, and so it is like a lot to process. But luckily, Tony had her back and set off the sprinklers. And it's like, good guy, Tony. Yeah, man. So then, especially like him and August being in a good place over like the whole Ruby thing. But also, it's like, yeah, he came off like such a tool and douche. I mean, he's kind of an idiot, but it's like, yeah, he came off like such a tool and douchebag. It's like, yo, good guy, Tony. That's awesome. But also, I'm like, do you think that's going to spark something between them? Because I assumed, if anything, it was going to be Stella and Colton, but which it still could be. Because once again, I think it's going to be that Romeo and Juliet thing of like, right, to be fair, they already kind of did that with the Trevor and Stella thing. So she might not be too receptive to going down that lane, might not be interested in a relationship, especially because it's like, right, there's such a complicated thing. We'll see how that kind of plays out because, once again, it's just a repeat history of their parents being in that exact same position. Like, I think it probably was like 25 years ago. Because, and I think they're making a whole point of that. Like, right, that comet comes by every 25 years. And Walker and her made those plans 25 years ago. But now she's pissed at Walker because it's like, regardless if it was Liam that was suggesting it, you for a second doubt. Like, I came back here not to like kick stuff up, not open old wounds. I came here to heal. But I need to put my family first and being concerned about you. So it sucks, but your family's up to, well, at least your hubby is up to like some shady stuff. So once again, what he decides to ultimately do with that footage, he's got it. This quote unquote smoking gun. So we'll see how that plays out. But he also had James getting on Mickey because she rushed in of like, yeah, like what happened in Del Rio didn't have to happen, but what happened here could have been avoided if you hadn't rushed in. Like, the fact is, the point was, like, right, we wait for Walker and then we surround. Like, things could have gone sideways, especially because Liam did rush in as well, too. So it's like, especially because Walker's coming from a position of, like, I almost lost you last season, bro. I'm not trying to put you in a position where I almost lose you again. So, but they're in their disagreements right now. So, because it's like, right, I'm your brother and you're choosing to listen to someone that's not, you're choosing another family over ours, over me, bro. So, that complicates things. But, James is suggesting that Mickey kind of rushed in, not just this operation, but coming back to work. She was just trying to be too on top of things because she's burying everything. I mean, it's hard, it's so interesting because like you're burying things, yet you kept a reminder of Garrison. You even have it like hanging on your wall. So, but Trey's there for her, trying to be there for her. Like they're not in a good spot, but like we could be. We just have to find a way to like work through all of this. And even Mickey recognizes like there's a lot of stuff I haven't talked about, I haven't dealt with. But she's like, I'm taking a step back from work. It's what's best for me and it's what's best for us because she has to process and figure out the whole Garrison thing because it's her own guilt feeling like I failed him. Like, once again, if she probably hadn't taken up the undercover work, maybe things wouldn't have happened that way. Two, like by just feeling like, right, I should have held on. I should have been able to help him, but I didn't. I failed in that regard. So that is just guilt in general, especially because it's not like it was just some random person. It was someone she had a history with. So it complicates things. So both Mickey and Walker Cordell are dealing with that, just different lanes and situations of it, but they are both kind of going through the same thing in that regard. So I hope it doesn't turn into a whole him and Denise thing despite their past. Like, I want it to be a him and Jerry thing. I want that to be the case. Because she'd walked over to be like, oh yeah, like a whole, like at tip jar, like, oh, 7 people added their number in there for you. But it's like, yeah, I think Jerry was using that as an excuse to come over so she could, talk to him about, like, well, she wanted to get it off her chest. So whether that'll happen going forward, we'll see. But I hope there is something between the two of them. So. But also, I skipped over it, but there was also Bon and Abby, because of, it wasn't just the surveillance cameras they found a suitcase, and it has like a gun in it and a map, so it shows like the property of like the Walker Ranch, what it used to be. Once again, I think that's probably going to come into full circle when it comes to the Walkers versus the Davidsons storyline, so... This bad blood definitely ain't thinning out anytime soon. In fact, things have gotten even more complicated. Not just because of the Daniel thing, but because also Denise is like, oh, you doubted my family. You doubted me. Liam was right to doubt you because, like, Daniel. But it's probably going to be a while into it before we even get to that point in the story, before that gets unveiled. So I'm curious to see where ultimately all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.